All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. My name is Vince Magling. I am Senior Marketing Manager at LimeLight. I'm based here in San Francisco, and I've got Harrison Mallon and Justin Friedberg on the other end in Miami, Florida. Today, we're going to be talking about how to optimize payment processing for CBD merchants. And it should take about 30 minutes or so. And, if you guys wait till the end, we're going to be sharing some good content with you guys about mid management and how to, acquire a merchant account, give you a merchant account checklist, and a couple other things. So at this point, I am just going to turn things over to the experts who are Harrison and Justin in Miami. And I'm going to let you guys just take it away.
Sounds good. Thanks, Vince. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Today, the objective is to run through CBD merchant processing. As you guys are probably aware, the environment's very tricky at the moment. It's considered a high risk. It's very murky. But essentially, it's considered high risk. There's banks popping up and down, getting in and out of the industry. It's kind of like whack-a-mole. So our goal today is to help you guys navigate the CBD merchant processing space from the information that we've done, that we know, and how we've done it. Just to give you a quick background, I've been with LimeLight for 4 years now, and LimeLight's actually worked in the high risk space for 10 years. So there's a lot of history working in high risk merchant processing. And then I'll let Justin introduce himself.
Justin Freeberg, Vice President of Sales at Transact Fast. I've been in the high risk space for over 10 years, 5.5 years in the trial nutraceutical payment processing space. And I'm excited to sit here with Harrison and work symbiotically to help you guys navigate through the ever-changing landscape of the payment processing industry.
Cool. Right on. So let's go to the next slide, Vince, if you can. All right. So for today's agenda, these are some of the topics we're going to cover. We'll try and make it the presentation, under 30 minutes. So we're going to start off with quickly going over the payment processing environment. There's a couple elements to payment processing. You need a payment gateway, which is pretty much a commoditized item that tokenizes credit card data and passes it through the networks and the processors to the acquiring banks. We'll get into a little bit about that. Every single e-commerce merchant needs a payment gateway. Think of it like you go to your corner store and you swipe your credit card at the corner store, or you put your EMV chip now. That's basically that credit card reader, the physical EMV chip reader is basically a gateway, but for the internet. So we'll get into setting up payment processing, for CBD. Then we'll get into finding the right mid provider. There's so many mid providers out there. You can probably just Google search CBD merchant processing, but I guarantee you're not going to find the best one from Google search.
Because I'm the best one.
Yeah, so we'll get into kind of asking the right questions, understanding the different discount rates. What is the average discount rate, just so you guys have a quick understanding when you are talking to your merchant provider, and just give you some information there. And then the next three topics that we'll cover are really strategizing how you're going to set up your business model for the long term. We've seen in the past merchant processors go up and down, and if you put all your eggs in one basket, and let's say you had $100,000 or even $1 million in recurring revenue on that mid, you're pretty much left holding the bag and you can't really do anything about it. So setting up a strategy and redundant merchant processing in place is crucial if you want to be in this business long term. I don't think overnight tomorrow they're going to say CBD is not classified as high risk. I think it's going to be considered high risk.
It's always going to be considered high risk.
Yeah, for the longevity. So we'll come up with some we'll give you guys the strategies that a lot of our bigger merchants are applying, and they're very successful as well. After that, we'll get into kind of e-commerce platforms that support high-risk merchant processing. There's a lot of buzz around Shopify doesn't. I mean, there's ways to navigate that, but at the end of the day, don't you want to work with somebody that's full force in it? So we'll get into kind of LimeLight and how we can provide value for CBD merchants. And then at the end, we're going to give you a free giveaway, which is a merchant account checklist. Essentially what this is it's a checklist for you when you submit your merchant processing applications to your mid provider. We're going to tell you every single thing that you need to do before you submit that app. What I've seen in the past is there's a lot of back and forth with your mid provider. Hey, you need to update your terms and conditions. Hey, you need to add your privacy policy.
Hey, you need to remove the marijuana leads from your website.
Exactly. So we're going to give you a checklist. So when you submit your app, you go through underwriting in a matter of days versus weeks. So that's our goal today. And the first thing we'll kick it off with, Justin, I'll let you kind of talk about the history of merchant processing since you focus on that and you've been doing it for a long time. But the first slide, we're just going to give you guys the quick landscape, the history over the last 3 or 4 years that CBD has been around for merchant processing. I know it's been around longer than that, but it really came out of the woodwork recently in the last 2 to 3 years. So Justin, if you want to kick it off, just kind of give us a quick rundown, the history, and then we can move forward after.
Yeah, absolutely. So about 2.5, 3 years ago, there were probably 8 different CBD solutions, and that's a combination of domestic and offshore solutions that were viable and processing, and slowly but surely, due to the fact that it's somewhat of a high-risk space and it's kind of in the gray area, many merchants lost many processing accounts, and the discount rates were ranging anywhere from 5.5% all the way up to 7.5%, maybe even 8%. Anywhere from 4-day in arrear funding all the way out to 14 days in arrear funding. Basically last year in January, after the Farm Bill passed, Elavon, a traditionally conservative bank, low-risk bank, threw their hat in the ring and started offering the unicorn discount rate and options that every merchant and their mother would prefer. Low discount rate, next day funding, and no reserve, which is huge for a cash flow perspective. If I was a merchant, I'd rather have no reserve and next day funding. The caveat of that, and it's always a telltale sign when the usual agents or brokers that were usually going to someone like me, all of a sudden turned around and said, no, you know what, we're going to go direct with this solution. I said, okay, we'll see what happens. And I've been in the space for a long time, and I've had my own battles with Elavon with the high risk trial space and continuity models. And I basically said, listen, if you're going to join Elavon, you are going to need to at least have 2 or 3 other solutions because when a storm comes, you don't want to get caught, right? You don't want to get caught in the rain. And I'd say about 95% of the merchants did not listen to me. They put all their eggs in one basket. Most of those were running some form of continuity or subscription business model. And when Elavon started shutting down accounts, because they weren't issuing a reserve, they were just taking large batches and not depositing into the merchant's bank account. And I know merchants that had up to $500,000 held, and not only did they have that money held, but they also had maybe another $250,000 in subscription processing that they can't run, right? Versus the 5 or 6 or 7% of the CBD merchants that actually listened to me and diversified their portfolio and had a strong redundancy strategy plan. It definitely hurt, but they were still able to stay in business yeah. and accept processing, and they didn't have to put that nasty little letter on their website saying can't accept sales due to lack of payment processing.
Yeah, I think another point on that, especially if you're a subscription billing merchant, doing like a CBD auto shipment or something along the lines of that. If you have, let's say, $100,000 in rebills and you don't have a backup or other merchant processor ready to go, you're pretty much losing that revenue because you're stuck. You can't move those rebills anywhere else. So it's very, smart, and you should set up a strategy because this environment's not going to change. It's going to continue to be whack-a-mole. And as long as you're, have a strategy behind the plan, you can prevent, hundreds of thousands of dollars of losses. So that's just a quick takeaway kind of from the Elavon situation. And I know there's a ton of merchants out there that happened to them, unfortunately.
So I just want to interject really quickly, the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and over again. It seems like, unfortunately, there's a lot of merchants that are still trying to throw stuff at the wall and hoping that it sticks, and they didn't learn from that previous experience. So, if you're watching this, I definitely urge you to take heed of the historical data, and take it from someone that's seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and anything in between.
Penny wise, pound foolish.
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right. Next slide. Okay, sorry, I skipped one, Vince. Merchant accounts. Okay, great. So this slide, what we're going to talk about now is really finding the right mid provider. Justin is a mid provider. He works with a ton of different banks, offshore, nearshore, domestic. So I think working direct with a merchant provider instead of trying to do that yourself is very valuable. One, because they're actively looking for new banks that are opening up. So you don't even need to do that. You're basically hiring, him, or he's basically your broker that's going to be looking for new solutions popping up. Two, he's also going to get you probably better rates because the economies of scale. So they work with a lot of clients. They can probably get you a better rate unless you're, a massive merchant. But if you're just starting out, I encourage you to talk to a mid provider. So he can kind of go into the different, I guess if you want to talk about solutions, but kind of the process as well, and like how Transact Fast works, just so you can give a quick rundown on what you guys do with merchants and how you help them out.
Yeah.
The onboarding process as well might be beneficial as well.
Sure, absolutely. So there's a bunch of different solutions out there. Some domestic, some offshore, some nearshore, as Harrison had mentioned. They all kind of come with their own caveats and some pros and cons and pain points and
different discount rates,
different discount rates. Exactly. So I guess I'll start with the new one, right? The one that everyone's been talking about. There's Square. Yeah. The discount rate is relatively modest. Somewhere between 4.5 to 4.95, maybe a little bit higher, depending on variations of what you have going on as a merchant and your overall standing. An existing processing history, or if you're a startup, it's a different situation.
One quick thing on the Square, and you kind of, sorry, interjecting. If any of you are Shopify merchants, I know that Shopify doesn't have Square as a plugin. However,
but you guys do.
LimeLight integrates with Square, and LimeLight, there's a plugin to Shopify. So if you love your Shopify store, we can make it happen where you can still process through Square. So we have a plugin available. At the end of the call, you can reach out to us. Also, if you are interested in getting in the Square CBD beta program, let us know because we can put you in touch with them, kind of put you in the front of the line. So those are two value adds that we can provide along the lines of Square. It's a great partner of ours, and we love working with them as well. So
yeah, and that's about a week and a half, 2 week turnaround time for
it's pretty quick
for approval.
Yeah, it's
very
quick.
Easy. Yeah. The only caveat that I would say is if you're running a subscription model. I would definitely try to put those subscriptions on a different merchant account. Yeah. I think that Square is great. It's the new kid on the block. But again, just from historical data, you don't know what's really going to happen. They may do something like an Esquire and basically cherry pick the accounts that they really like and get rid of the accounts that are causing the problems with refunds or chargebacks or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. So you always want to kind of stay at one step or two steps ahead of the curve. So that's the first solution. There's another solution called Fresno. I'm sure many people have heard about Fresno. Yep, it's domestic. It's gone through multiple iterations in the last 9 months. So far it seems like it's going pretty well. I know that they're starting to institute some additional requirements that we could absolutely talk to you about offline. Discount rates are anywhere from 4.95 to 5.95. Really, again, it depends. Usually, there's no reserve. However, there have been some cases where there is a reserve, just depending on who you are and business type and just overall history. I believe it's a 2-3 day funding time, so that's pretty favorable. There's another solution, which is Wells Fargo, which I don't really have very much to report at the moment. It's still kind of in testing phase currently. So that's my 2 cents on that solution. And then we have BullPay, which has been around for quite some time now. That's an offshore solution. It's a hybrid solution. discount rate is a little bit higher, and the funding time is about a week in arrears. So, you can obviously you work that into your overall mid strategy by utilizing LimeLight and some of the features. And there's some other solutions that we have as well, but we could always talk about that when you contact me or Harrison. Again, I like to just kind of put a disclaimer. A solution can be around for 3 weeks and disappear, or it can be around for 3 months and then disappear, or it can be around for 9 months, right? And I'm just telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. It's definitely a tough pill to swallow, but you have to be ready for what's going to happen, so that way you can stay in business and not have such an impact on your operational expenses.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That was great. So let's go to the next slide. Cool. So now we're going to talk about 3 different strategies and tools that are actually built into LimeLight to help optimize your business when it comes to high-risk merchant processing. So the first one is called transactional routing. Essentially what this tool does is you can route specific card types, BIN numbers, billing countries to specific merchant accounts. Why this is beneficial: if I have a customer that's in the UK and I have a UK mid through T1 payments, the approval rates are typically going to be higher since they're in the same location. If I have a US merchant and I try to run that through the UK mid, typically, I don't know if any of you guys have processed through T1 or one of the UK mids out there, you'll see a lot lower approval rates when you're running US transactions through that mid.
40 to 60%.
Approval or decline? So yeah, if you're getting like a 40 to 60% approval rate, 4 to 6 out of every 10 customers that come to your page are going through. That's not that great. It should be 9 to 10, right? It should be 100%, honestly. Anyway, so that's transactional routing. That's going to help optimize your initial transactions and get those approval rates up. Cascading kind of works in parallel with that. Essentially, a cascade is when, let's say John Smith, US customer, goes through your UK mid initially. You could then cascade that transaction to another merchant account in real time. It takes about a quarter of a second. The customer on the front end doesn't see it. So then it tries to run that transaction through maybe one of your US mids. You might be able to get some overflow there and get 5-10% approval rates, an increase in approval rates by cascading. We can talk about a lot of this in greater detail, but once you're pushing big volume, 5% increase in approval rates could mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you're doing big volume, you're only doing 1,000 transactions a month, it might not be as beneficial. But as you scale, these are huge tools that can increase your bottom line. And then backup processing. This is more just having redundant merchant processors in place. And I think one of the biggest value adds actually of LimeLight integrates with 150 payment gateways out of the box. And this ranges across the globe, the world. Most platforms out there have like 5 to 10, and we also specialize in high risk gateways. So as a new bank pops up, they require a certain gateway. We already have pretty much every gateway out there natively integrated. So as new banks pop up, your go-to-market strategy is a lot quicker because you can just plug and play versus require, hey, Shopify, can you add this gateway because we have merchant processing for this mid. So I think those are some of the benefits and tools that are natively built into LimeLight that can increase revenues for your business. Let's go to the next slide, Vince. And if you have any questions on that, please shoot them in the webinar. Just send those questions and we'll get them answered at the end of the call. Here's a quick snapshot just from the platform, the back end. But if you can see the screen here, it has 4 merchant accounts loaded up. Let's say they all have 50K as the processing limit per mid. And essentially, there's a couple ways you could set up a payment router. One is a weight distribution, which is just going to allocate incoming transactions across these mids evenly. So, as money is getting processed on them, it's just going to allocate it evenly. There's a couple other options in there. You can do round robin, which just alternates across the mids. And then the third one is basically a hierarchy system. So I want to fill up my square mid first because I have the lowest discount rate there. And then the next once I reach capacity there, let's have the other transactions go to this other mid. So there's different techniques that you can do when you're setting up payment routers, and our team's happy to help. We want to make you guys more money. So if you have any questions or need any help setting any of this up, we're always there to assist. Let's go to the next slide. This is okay. So that was the payment router profile. This is the actual payment router. So you can actually see here, you're able to specify payment types. And actually, it's funny. Some merchant accounts don't even accept, like MasterCard or whatnot. So if you just want to route your MasterCard transactions to a different mid that accepts it, this allows you to do that. So you can get very advanced and very smart with how you're doing your merchant processing, and our tool allows you to do that. You can also see here, you can route by billing country, by BIN profile, and then by product ID as well. So subscriptions, let's send the subscriptions to a different merchant account other than Square. You could set that up actually if you wanted to. Let's go to the next slide. And then this is a cascade profile. So essentially you can see here, based off of condition sets, typically you want to cascade on soft declines. So like issuer declined or insufficient funds, those are typically good ones to do a cascade on. So, let's say that you have your UK mid up here, and if it fails a transaction, we want to route it to a US mid in real time, pretty much, a quarter of a second. So you can see the cascade profile there. Let's go to the next slide. Vince, please. Perfect. Okay, so tying this all together, LimeLight is a e-commerce, billing, customer management, analytics platform that was really built. It comes from the high-risk merchant processing space. So a lot of tools that are native to the platform are perfect for CBD merchants. It couldn't be more spot on, honestly, in my opinion. So we're seeing a lot of CBD merchants using our platform just for that reason. And basically, there's different tools that we went over: payment routing, cascading, integrations with all the high-risk mids. Those are all out of the box, so they come with the solution. We also we're front-end agnostic, so we can plug into your Shopify store, your WooCommerce store, WordPress, custom built, doesn't really matter. We can integrate your website to LimeLight so you can get all these benefits. Especially the Shopify thing's interesting because I know there's a lot of merchants out there that love Shopify. It's a great CMS front-end builder. If you want to use Square, you can't today, but we have a solution for that. You plug into LimeLight, then you plug Square into LimeLight, LimeLight into Shopify, then you're good to go. And we can help with all that setup and integration. If you need it, if you don't have a tech team, we're always there to help, to help you set it up. One thing I wanted to mention, this is kind of side topic, maybe we'll do another webinar another time about this, but another challenge besides merchant processing for CBD merchants right now is actually marketing and advertising. Right? So running ads on Facebook and Google, and I'm sure you guys are running into those issues, right?
You can't do that.
You can do it for topicals, but not ingestibles. So there's other ways of doing it. You can use some creative ways of doing it, but I think there's two avenues that we might be able to provide value here. One is using affiliates. Affiliates are master marketers. They know how to navigate Facebook, Google, all those different accounts very, very well, and they can actually get ads through. I don't know how, they just are really good at
they're gurus.
Yeah, they're gurus. So one option would be to test affiliate marketing, and we have a lot of connections in that space. So we're happy to introduce you to different networks and different affiliates. Or there's also another solution called Bud Networks.
Bud Media Networks.
Bud Media Networks, which is essentially an agency that has a bunch of big publishers for targeted consumers that love, relatable products. And actually, if I was running ads on Facebook, I would just target people that like, I don't know, something that's compliant that you can get through a Facebook ad, but it's comparable to, like that persona is comparable to somebody that would buy CBD hemp. I don't know, like maybe grinders. I don't know if you can run ads for that online, but people that buy grinders.
What's a grinder?
Just like, I don't know.
Just messing.
All right. Anyway, I'm just trying. I don't know. That's like an idea. So if you are running ads on Facebook, try and find something comparable to your hemp products, maybe yoga or something. There's a ton of different
holistic
things.
Health and wellness.
Exactly. Those type of products.
Quality of life.
Exactly.
And I can actually just hone in a little bit more on Bud Media. Bud Media is a programmatic ad display platform, and they actually run off of over 1,000 different publishers like Newsweek,
High
Complex,
Times.
High Times, etc. They have over half a billion unique impressions a month, and they're definitely a great platform. I've sent a great deal of CBD and cannabis-based
and they're seeing good results.
They're seeing great ROI and engagement, and definitely put you in touch with
So
them.
if you're having some challenges there, there's another avenue we can help on. So I think that kind of ends Vince, if you want to go to the net. Yep, perfect. So I think that ends the webinar here, guys. But it was a pleasure having you. And here's our information. So this is my office line there, and then there's Justin's direct line. Feel free to give us a call whenever. Happy to hop on a call, today, tomorrow, when it doesn't really matter. There's our emails if you want to shoot us an email. Our headquarters, LimeLight, is based in San Francisco. We also have an office in Tampa, Florida. And then these are the two links. Vince, if you want to kind of just talk about those, I'll let you run with it. But
Right. So we have two websites. One for established CBD brands. That would be the top one. Either way, doesn't matter where you're at in the process. You can go to either one of these sites, right? However, the second site really is about if you're interested in launching your CBD business, because we can do that for you from end to end. So if you're looking at that second one, you might not be able to see all our videos are in front of it, but it is limelightcrm.com/CBD dash e-commerce
we can send it out as well.
e-commerce dash store.
We can send an email follow up as well, just with the hyperlinks, might as well. Yes,
Right.
the first one,
Right.
learn more about what we talked about today. The second link is more of an end-to-end solution, turnkey. We will help you launch your store from A to Z. Literally, we'll get it up and running, do everything. So there's two options there. Justin, if you want to kind of close any closing comments, reach out to Justin if you guys need mids. He's the mid guy. So if you guys
midman.
He's the midman. So if you guys need merchant processing, he's your guy. He's been in the space for a long time. He's helping hundreds of merchants get CBD merchant processing. And I think you have an emphasis in CBD too. You kind of focus on that, right?
I've always been interested in the CBD space, and I think that when you find something that you love, you really dive in and just immerse yourself in the knowledge and speak to other industry leaders and put together your own hypothesis and conclusions on what's going on. And my only advice would be reach out to me, schedule a call. We can go more in depth. The only suggestion that I would give you is if you're going to find a agent or broker or ISO to work with, choose one. Don't try to spread your submissions all around, because you're just going to end up inflicting. It's a very small pond. So hopefully you guys choose me. My number's right there. And hopefully next week we'll hop on another one. But in the meantime, I think Harrison wants to show you guys something.
Nice view. Beautiful day in Miami, Florida.
Very nice. Yeah. Oh, and just so everybody knows, you can download that merchant account checklist now. You'll see that where in the chat space.
Perfect.
So just go ahead and download the file. We'll give you a few seconds while Harrison's finishing up, showing you the view.
Okay.
But yeah.
Thanks, Vince.
Want to thank everybody for joining. Thank you guys in Miami. I know we tried doing this a few times and you guys nailed it. So
awesome. All right, thanks, guys.
We will see you all soon.
See ya.
Yes.
Bye.